Welcome back to MYK Reviews. Buckle up, here are the top 10 surprisingly great versions of once hated cars, because everyone deserves a second chance. Even that car your uncle swore would catch fire if you looked at it wrong. 10. Chrysler PT Cruiser Turbo, 2003 to 2005. Grandma's grocery getter goes rogue. Ah yes, the PT Cruiser, the car that looked like it time traveled from a 1930s mobster movie and got stuck in a Y2K glitch. Most people would rather walk barefoot across Legos than be seen driving one. But wait, hidden beneath its retiree retro vibes was the GT Turbo version, a turbocharged sleeper that could surprise you at a red light and make you say, wait, did that toaster just pass me? Packing a 2.4-liter turbo engine borrowed from the Dodge Neon SRT4. Yes, seriously, this little oddball could crank out 215 to 230 horsepower depending on the year. That meant 0 to 60 in under 7 seconds and a weirdly fun drive. It was like a grandparent who still breaks dance at weddings. Embarrassing in theory, awesome in practice. 9. Pontiac Aztec AWD, 2003 to 2005. Walter White's wild card. The Pontiac Aztek, the car world's favorite punching bag. It looked like a transformer mid-transformation and had more plastic cladding than a 90s action figure. But hear me out, the all-wheel drive version wasn't half bad. In fact, with time, it's grown into something of a cult classic. Why? Well, the Aztek was weirdly ahead of its time. It came with an optional camping package, complete with a built-in tent and air mattress, tons of cargo space, removable cooler, and available AWD. Basically, it was a rugged crossover before rugged crossovers were cool. Also, Breaking Bad made it iconic. If it's good enough for Heisenberg, it's good enough for your next weekend adventure or suburban meth empire. Please don't. 8. Chevy Cobalt SS, 2005 to 2008, and from May to monster. The base Cobalt was about as exciting as watching beige paint dry while listening to an elevator playlist. People bought it only because their rental agency forced them to. But then GM said, what if we made it not suck? And so, the Cobalt SS Supercharged was born. This thing slapped a 205 horsepower supercharged 2.0-liter Ecotec engine into a compact shell and gave it a proper 5-speed manual. Later models swapped the supercharger for a turbo, pushing out 260 horsepower, making it a legit track toy for budget-minded speed junkies. This car was a weapon on twisty roads, a bargain bin Evo with front-wheel drive bravado. Yes, the interior still looked like a VCR had a baby with a stapler, but you weren't buying this for the cabin ambiance. You were buying it to burn rubber and shock people at autocross. 7. Dodge Caliber SRT4, 2008 to 2009. The angriest potato. Regular Dodge Caliber, garbage, a squishy, plasticky, wobbly excuse for a hatchback. But slap some SRT sauce on it? Suddenly the Caliber SRT4 was a turbocharged beast with 285 horsepower, a 6-speed manual, and the subtle grace of a bar fight at a Chili's. Sure, it still looked like a potato with anger issues, but under the hood, the 2.4-liter turbo engine from the Neon SRT4 with more power turned this into a legitimately fast ride, 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds. That's faster than some modern sports cars. The torque steer could rip your arms off if you weren't careful, but hey, that's part of the charm. Plus, it had a giant center-mounted boost gauge, which is the automotive equivalent of flexing at the gym. 6. Mitsubishi Eclipse GT V6, 2006 to 2009. Twilight Redemption. The Eclipse had a sad decline from 90s turbo hero to bloated front-wheel drive coupe that teens bought because it looked kinda fast. But dig a little deeper and you'll find the Eclipse GT V6, especially with the 6-speed manual, was secretly kind of a rocket. With a 263 horsepower, 3.8-liter V6, it had grunt, lots of it. The car wasn't light, to put it gently, but it made up for it with torque that could outrun expectations, and probably your neighbor's Civic. It also looked good if you squinted, like a Nissan 370Z and a Jelly Bean had a baby. No, it wasn't the precision handling AWD Turbo Eclipse of the 90s, but it was the best version of its later form. Plus, let's be honest, you always wanted to impress someone by showing up with butterfly doors, even if they weren't factory. 5. Hyundai Veloster N, 2019 to 2022. From why to whoa. The original Veloster, a car that confused everyone with its weird 3-door layout, yes, 3 doors, and underwhelming performance. It was like someone tried to build a car using a funhouse mirror and a bag of Skittles. Nobody hated it enough to protest, but nobody wanted it either. Enter the Veloster N, Hyundai's full-on redemption arc. This thing slapped back at every eye roll with a 275 horsepower turbocharged inline-4 rev-matching manual, active exhaust, and track-ready handling. Suddenly, Hyundai wasn't just that car your aunt drives. It was snapping at the heels of the Golf GTI and Civic Type R. It's the car that went from quirky nerd to varsity MVP and still had time to make TikToks about it. If you haven't driven one, you're missing out on the most fun you can have in a car shaped like a sneaker. 4. Saturn Ion Red Line, 2004 to 2007. GM's secret sledgehammer. The Saturn Ion? A rolling PSA on why cost-cutting and innovation don't always mix. Center-mounted gauges, door panels made of cereal box, driving dynamics tuned by Goldilocks? You get the idea. But then, Red Line. Boom. GM shoved a 205 horsepower supercharged engine, stiffer suspension, Recaro seats, and a close ratio manual transmission into it. Suddenly, this plastic-clad nothing burger was spicy. It handled decently, sounded angry, and was faster than anyone expected. Plus, it had the SRT4, Civic Si, and Cobalt SS in its sights, and sometimes in its rearview mirror. It was GM saying, okay fine, let's make something fast, and accidentally making something cool. Saturn may be gone, but this version deserves a shrine in the Hall of Misunderstood Speed. 3. Toyota Yaris GR, 2020 to 2022. From basic to bonkers. We all knew the Toyota Yaris as a rental car's rental car, an underpowered jelly bean that made you question life, love, and torque. It was built to get you from A to B, where fun was something you passed by on the way. Then Toyota lost its mind in a good way and created the Yaris GR, rally bred, all-wheel drive, turbocharged, 268 horsepower, manual transmission, lightweight, wide body, bonkers. It's like if Mr. Bean's car got possessed by Colin McRae's ghost and entered WRC. Not sold in the US. Sigh, but this car went from meh to must-have overnight. The GR version is so far removed from the original Yaris that it's like discovering your goldfish grew up to be a shark. 2. Kia Forte Coupe SX, 2010 to 2013. Wait, that Kia? Kia's early attempts at sporty coupes were optimistic. Most of them drove like soggy toast and looked like they were trying too hard. But the Forte Coupe SX was different. Not great, but shockingly competent. With a 2.4-liter 173 horsepower engine, sport-tuned suspension, and a 6-speed manual, the SX had actual personality. It could carve a corner without embarrassing itself, had decent acceleration, and looked kinda sharp and red. Plus, it had a name that sounded like it was typed with autocorrect turned off. It didn't quite crack the big leagues, but it made you say, hey, this ain't bad, and that was a big win for Kia in 2010. And if you tell someone today that your fun, reliable, and cheap daily is a Forte Coupe SX, you'll confuse the heck out of them, which is half the fun. 1. Dodge Neon S RT4, 2003 to 2005. The economy car turned drag strip demon. Regular Dodge Neon, the soggy napkin of compact cars. It squeaked, it rattled. It was the default first car for people who hated driving. The only thing it had going for it was that it was there. But then Dodge lost its mind and gave us the SRT4, a turbocharged 230 horsepower monster that could embarrass BMWs and Mustangs in a straight line. No joke. It had racing seats, a functional hood scoop, a big ol' wing, and enough torque steer to realign your spine. This thing was fast, loud, and as subtle as a firework in a library. It was basically Dodge taking the Neon and saying, let's make this thing insane and see what happens. Spoiler, it worked. Now it's a cult car, and despite the stigma, people still chase them down because they know that under the goofy grin is a genuine performance car that came from absolutely nowhere. Here you have it. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to MYK Reviews, and comment your favorite choice.